right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Another episode of Keto Rocks is being delivered to you at this moment, this Friday at 7 p.m. So welcome. It's our honor and privilege to be able to deliver to you some content that actually, hopefully, makes you feel better. And the whole mission about this is just making people being able to be as healthy as they can be, giving them a lifestyle that lets them be able to thrive, not start to become decrepit, or whatever that word is. What is it, Brian?
Decrepit.
All right, that's it. He said it. So what Brian said, we're here to prevent that so you can thrive and live. And so it's just, my name is Jim Hobbs, and to my left or right is Mr. Brian Damage Forsythe from Kix. And we got a special guest with us this evening. Lynda, is it Haser?
It is Haser.
Okay. And you're from, is it Pennsylvania? Is that where you're calling in from?
I am, Harrisburg.
Or joining us from? Harrisburg. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
And before we get started, I know we're Facebook friends, and I saw that picture of that New York strip and your scallops. So is that the first time you having scallops?
Yes, it is. And I don't know, so you know that Lisa and I are friends.
Yes.
And so of course on that post, she's like, "Where'd you learn to make that?" She knows where I learned to make it, watching Brian's videos. So I had never made scallops before. So worked out great.
So did everybody in your household have scallops, or did you just have them for yourself?
Oh no, we bought a ton of them. So yes, everyone had them.
Awesome.
Everyone
awesome. Well, is everybody in your household keto, or is it just you, or
no, it's just me. No, it's just me. Everyone's everyone's modified now since I started, because, well, quite frankly, I'm not cooking more than one meal. So at least dinner times are all keto. And what we did in our house, which has really actually benefited everyone, is we used to do a lot of like pasta and rice side dishes. Right. So we don't do any of that anymore. We certainly don't eat out anymore. I mean, at least not to the extent we were doing. So we're doing a lot more cooking. And as you know, we've bought a smoker. So my husband is totally in love with that thing. So we're constantly finding new things to put in the smoker. So he loves the smoker, and then I love the meter that I bought. So,
now, did you buy the meter because of Brian? And
you know, I did. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What kind of smoker did you all buy?
Well, I didn't have anything to do with that, so we weren't quite sure how if we were gonna like it or not. So he bought a Camp Chef. It's a propane smoker, just to start off with, because we were sort of like, we don't really want to. We have a running joke about having Traeger money. So we were like, I don't know that I want to spend Traeger money, until we know if we're going to like it or use it. So that's probably next year.
Yeah, I started out with that little Weber thing first.
Yeah, that was amazing. I could never do that. The whole coal thing, this is easier just to turn it on. So. Well,
yeah, I discovered that, I thought I was starting off easy. I was really starting off cheap. I was going the cheap, but I thought it was like the easier, more simple way, and it turned out to be the more complicated. But it taught me a ton of stuff about smoking and temperature and like all kinds of stuff. Now that I got the Traeger, it's just like hit the button and just walk away, and it does everything.
Yeah, this one is a little bit tricky. We haven't quite figured it out. We're getting better. The first couple things we did, we really dried it out. Because it was hard for us to learn to trust the meter. Like it would say, "Oh, take this out now," and we were like, "I don't think I want to take that out." And we're kind of like, "Yeah, take it out."
Yeah, because the meter will keep rising in temperature after.
Right.
But I've learned to put a pan of water in when I'm smoking stuff just to keep it moist.
Well, this came with a pan for water, so we did, like I said, the first couple of times we let the water dry out. Like we just didn't know what we were doing. So yeah, we're getting better.
Yeah. yeah, it's, you know, you just have to learn as you go, really.
Hey, listen, Brian will tell you this because I've shared it with him, but I tell you, my first 2 attempts of smoking brisket, total disaster. I mean, the second one was better than the first. The first, my gosh, I don't think it was even edible for my dog, but I tried it out so bad. But the second one was better, but the one I just got through smoking this past week was almost perfection. It wasn't perfection yet, but it was definitely the best. And I wanted to say, Brian, that article was great that you sent me on the butcher paper, because the butcher paper, I tell you, it's amazing. It sounds so simple, but that made a huge difference in my brisket. Then I tried it on the ribs. I made a big rack of ribs and used the butcher paper to wrap those. Oh my gosh, I hit that one out of the park. That may be the best ribs I've ever tasted in my life, regardless of where I got them from. So I'm a big believer in having butcher paper to wrap your meat in.
Yeah.
So Lynda, I'm curious to hear your story of how you first of all, how long have you become keto? How long have you been on a keto lifestyle?
Since January.
Okay, of this year.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now I guess the question comes into play is how did you start off on a keto lifestyle?
Well, I mean, I certainly had heard of it before, but it's interesting. So my brother and I go to a lot of concerts together. So for his birthday, I got us tickets to the Kix shows when they were here in Harrisburg, and we just had a blast. And I probably hadn't seen you guys, Brian, since sometime in the 90s. So anyway, a couple days after we got home, I do what I assume everyone else does, I went on Facebook and was kind of like, I wonder like what the guys in the band are doing. So when I got to Brian's Facebook page, I started scrolling through and I was like, oh, he has all this really interesting health stuff on here. So I started reading it, and I started reading the articles that he had posted, and then he had a lot of Dr. Barry's things on there. So I kind of, took note of it. And of course we were coming into the holidays. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to start anything at the holidays, but I did go to Dr. Barry's YouTube series on Keto 101. And I just started watching that through the month of December and kind of keeping a notebook of the stuff that he did. And then, kind of did the New Year's resolution thing. And I was just like, well, I'm going to start this. I'm going to try this. And then, so I was following Brian and what he would reference, and then Dr. Barry's stuff. And then Brian started his cooking thing, which I watched because, we didn't eat a lot of meat. So not that I don't know how to cook meat, but you know what I mean? It's like, we just never ate that way. We were always chicken and quite frankly, pizza and, stuff
Pasta.
Like that. Cause, quick stuff for running out the door. Pasta, I'm Italian, so always, lots of pasta. So it's been really helpful to see the cooking stuff and how to cook different things. And I tried, Jim, I think you commented on this. I tried the seared ahi tuna, which I had never had in my life before. So, I mean, it's good to watch that stuff and try that stuff for something different. So yeah, that's my story. It was at a Kix concert.
That's awesome.
I follow a bunch of different like carnivore people and carnivore chefs and all these different people on Instagram, and they're always posting their food. And that's where I get a lot of ideas too. I'll see something and I'll go, oh, I never thought about that. So it's kind of cool to do. It is.
Well, following your Instagram was really, because you put all those beautiful pictures up there. So that was really, my dishes never turn out that well, but listen, if they're editable, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Brian puts out a piece of art, doesn't he? He makes it a piece of art when he puts it on that blue plate, and just the way he presents it. He's definitely an artist when it comes to that.
He really does. And I do not have a talent for that. So.
Well, then there's the taking of the picture too, because you can mess it up with a bad picture.
So he's a great cameraman too. That's what he's saying. So he's a cameraman, an artist, and presenting food, and a great guitarist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think, Brian, you guys need to redo or rework the lyrics to Kicks Are for Kids to Kicks Us for Keto. That and do that at the keto concert.
Well, actually, Mark and I are the only. Well, I'm not even keto anymore. Mark is now, but it took a while to get Mark into it. He kept wanting to do it. He would do it for like a month or so, and then he'd start having cheat days, and the next thing he knew, he was back at his old thing. And so he finally, well, what happened was he got a Traeger.
There you go.
And I think another thing that happened with Mark that convinced him was he's a big fan of Joe Rogan. And remember when Joe Rogan did that experiment and he tried the whole carnivore thing? I think that convinced Mark to just do it finally.
Now, is he just doing keto or is he doing carnivore? Is he going full-blown carnivore?
I think he's sort of primarily carnivore, but he'll Jenna, the girl that his roommate, she's keto. So sometimes she'll cook some vegetables and he'll have some, but yeah, he's not as strict as I am.
Well, we'll have to interview him next and let him share his story from regular food to food for fuel.
Yeah.
So Lynda, how are you feeling since? I mean, what's been your progression? So, I mean, especially men and women seem to respond differently to the keto in the beginning. So, how did your body respond to your new lifestyle of keto eating?
So, at the beginning, the first couple of days, honestly, the headache is similar to like if you give up coffee, you know, but by about the third week, I felt really good. And I had started on a progression. So I had started because I was kind of doing it as I learned. So I started at, I think it was like 40 grams of net carbs, and then kind of have whittled my way down now to about 7 grams of total carbs a day. So I do kind of dabble back and forth in carnivore, and then sometimes I will have some vegetable, but I just did it in a progression. So as I was feeling better and learned more, I think the more that you educate yourself, the more you realize how important it is, you know, to kind of make that progression down. And it has worked really well for me. Since January, so it's last week, like you and I were talking, it was my 6 months. I hit my 6 month mark, and I've lost 80 pounds.
That's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
Well,
congratulations.
And like not even struggling. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really
I totally know what you mean.
Like every week I'm just amazed. I'm like, really still? Okay. You know, so the other thing is it was so hard to even just walk. Like when I first started, just to go, I would say, oh, you know, just go out and get some fresh air, go for a walk. And I'd come home and my husband would go, how was your walk? And I'd be like, oh, it was terrible. I hate that. So I've moved from like now it's like, how was your walk? I'm like, oh, my walk was good. And this past week, I actually added in some like strength training. Mm-hmm. So now the question is, how was your strength training? And I'm like, whoa, that was terrible. I'm hoping that in another month or so, I won't be saying that. So.
Now, what was, you said you had carbs and everything was kind of fast food that you could cook fast that your family had for meals, and you've kind of switched to keto. So are you still doing 3 meals a day, or are you down to, you had mentioned earlier about just doing 1 meal with the one you had tonight. So where are you as far as number of meals?
So I started with 3. So I started with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then so once I got through Dr. Berry's Keto 101, I started on his intermittent fasting video series. And so then I started intermittent fasting, which is actually for people that are semi-lazy like I am, great, because you don't have to make as much stuff. Or like if you work, it's like one of the biggest stressors was, what am I packing for lunch today? So now it's like, what, you know, but so then I moved to, so I went from 3 to 2 meals a day. Then I went to 1 meal a day. But what I found out, while I had no problem with the fasting window, it did stall out my weight loss a little bit. I couldn't sit down and eat enough calories at that one meal to not stall out my weight loss. So that stalled out my weight loss for about a month. So I went back to 2. So I still do about 18 hours of fasting. I just eat a small meal around 1:30 or 2, and then my dinner.
Yeah, I noticed that too when I went to the 1 meal a day, especially when I went, because mine was a slow progression. And when I went carnivore, I would still jump back into keto here and back and forth. And when I went full carnivore and I was down to 1 meal a day, I was struggling with my workouts too. And I think it was just that whole thing. I wasn't getting enough calories. So I just had to bump it up and just eat more than I even thought I wanted. And it worked. But yeah, it's an adjustment along the way. I did the same thing. It was just little bits, like, a few steps forward and a step back, and, just over the course of almost a year, I think, before I finally just went full on into it.
What would you say somebody who's watching this and they've been thinking about going keto, what would you tell them is the easiest thing about going keto? And then also, what's the hardest thing about going keto for you? What's been the hardest and what's been the easiest?
So I think the easiest thing is where you get educated on it, because I think that you can certainly find books or videos that make it more complicated than it has to be. Mm-hmm. And it's really simple. I mean, and this is just my reference, so I'm certainly not touting him in any way, shape, or form, but Dr. Berry just makes it really easy, especially when you're just starting. So those first couple videos of just saying, just start here, just start there. And you start to really accomplish things, and then it makes you want to get more into it. So even at this point, like, people will say to me, well, what about your macros and what about this? And I still don't count those. I mean, I still use a carb counter because, like I said, I am still trying to lose weight, but I don't worry about my fat goal or if I go over my protein or anything like that for any length of time. I really just concentrate on the carbs. And then I would say the hardest part is just getting started, because the mental part of it, of considering a life of not eating carbohydrates when your whole life has been spent, if you think about it, everything you grab that's fast with a snack is a carbohydrate. So I think it's just the thought of going, well, what happens if I'm hungry? What am I gonna eat in my car on the way to, to whatever? I think just getting over that mental speed bump is the hardest part of it, really.
Yeah, a lot.
I would agree with you. That's what, for me, I love pizza, and my wife's an excellent cook and baker, and she used to make triple rice homemade oatmeal bread, which is famous around here. People who have it's just amazing. So my favorite thing is that triple rice homemade bread with butter. I mean, hot bread out of the oven. And so to no longer to be able to have that and pizza, but I found alternatives. I actually just take mozzarella and just melt it with pepperoni on aluminum foil and do that. And it's amazing how that satisfies your taste buds for that cheese and pepperoni flavor. And the great thing about doing that is you don't feel bloated, you don't feel sluggish afterwards. That's the beauty of it. And for me, I started to realize, man, why did I do that? And it really caused me to turn inward and then start to evaluate my life. Like, all these events were always celebrated by food, but I eat food that would cause me to feel bad. And so I really started this. I was telling this to Brian this last week or the other day. I started to ask myself, why would I celebrate a momentous occasion by poisoning myself and making myself feel worse? And so I think for me, I really started to have to be honest with myself and realize that by celebrating with poison, which is how I look at those food groups now, and celebrating with food that I know is helping my body to thrive, big difference. Now, you know, I'm ready to celebrate. Yeah, let's go smoke a brisket. Let's go cook up hamburgers. Let's cook a steak. And it's just as satisfying as it was if, you know, we're going to go to Brothers Pizza and get a large or 2 pizzas for $20 with the toppings on it and eat it and feel stuffed and feel lousy, like you don't feel like doing anything the rest of the day and becoming useless.
Well, that's true. When I would be at work and 2 o'clock would hit, I'd be like, oh my God, I need a nap. Like if I don't get a nap, and it's really interesting because it's probably a little bit cliche, but the truth is I used to be a huge napper. Now I go to work very early. So on the weekends, I would sleep in and take a nap and still go to bed. And quite frankly, right now, I have a hard time falling asleep at night. Like I'm like, I don't really need to go to sleep that much anymore. And I don't get that crash in the middle of the day like I used to. And it's hard to describe to people until you really experience it. But it's like, yeah, no, I'm good. I feel really good.
Now, before you start, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, yeah, it's funny when you're talking to somebody that's not into this way of eating, and they're completely baffled by that.
Well, like, they almost don't believe you.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, seriously, I'm not lying. I love to sleep. I absolutely love to sleep. I just don't need to sleep.
Yeah, or even like the no snack thing. It's like, well, what do you do for snacks? And I go, I don't have snacks. Like they're like baffled, and then the whole, and then you drop the intermittent fasting concept on. Like, no way I could ever do that. Like, don't you get hungry in the middle of the night? And I'm like, no. Like until you've done it, and well, then it also matters what you eat when you're doing it. But yeah, it's hard to explain to somebody if they haven't tried it and experienced it. Really, it's just one of those things.
Well, sometimes I wait for it. Like when I first started, I'd be like, all right, it's 7 o'clock at night. Shouldn't I be hungry? Do I need a snack? And I hope that if people try this, they'll find the same thing. You're just amazed. You're literally like, no, I'm good. And it's shocking because it was never something that I had ever experienced before. So having done, the traditional, Weight Watchers or whatever, like literally your whole life is spent planning your next meal. And when you eat that meal, an hour later, you're going, how long till I can eat again? So it's actually really liberating kind of to not be in that situation.
Yeah,
to have it be 2 o'clock in the afternoon and be like, no, I'm okay.
Yeah, it's like an added freedom, really.
It really is, yeah.
Well, I found out with the intermittent fasting is like you were talking about a snack in the evening thing. When I first started doing this, it really helped me because, I'd get to that window, the end of my eating window thing, and I'd shut it, and I'd stick to that. Like I'd like at some point in the evening, the same thing. The thought would cross my mind, like this is when I'd usually go out to the kitchen. I'd get like some crackers and put peanut butter and jelly on a cracker, and I'd think about that, and I'd have the urge to want to go do it. Like this was at the beginning, and then I go, you know what? I'm not even hungry, but I still want to go out into the kitchen. And then I realized how much of the snacking was just boredom or this habit thing that I would do that had nothing to do with hunger at all. And this whole the carnivore thing just reset my body being in touch with that hunger thing now.
When I first started, I would plan for the snack. Like I save carbs for my 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night snack. I better like not. So that was like the first thing that fell by the wayside. I was like, can I really be done eating at 6 and not need anything until, the next day? Yeah. So, I mean, it really is a good feeling to know that. So.
Yeah, I think people compare the keto lifestyle to like other diets they've been on, where other diets are not eating nutritionally dense food, like, and because of, like you just said, Lynda, like and I've tried other diets, and I understand what you're saying, like you eat and the portions that you have and what you're eating, like, man, I can eat again in 4 hours. I can't wait to eat another in 4 hours. What am I going to eat? Because you're hungry already. You're never really full, and so your body's always you're constantly craving food. And then with keto, what happens is you fill yourself up and you feel stuffed, but you don't feel bloated, and then you have energy. Then add in the intermittent fasting and then workouts or whatever, and you're able to go for long periods of time, and you're not even hungry. Like, especially during the summer, for me, I'm just not. I almost got to force myself to eat during the summer because it's just so hot. I just don't even want to eat. So I'm going to start. Actually, I'm going to start this probably tomorrow. I'm going to start. Not only am I going to do intermittent fasting for food, I'm probably actually going to do a 3-day fast from everything, including social media and food, and just be on water for 3 days, and start to incorporate that more and more. I used to do that. But kind of got away from it, and my body's really telling me I need to do that again. So that's the route I'm going to go. And with that being said, Lynda, had you ever fasted before you started getting to the keto lifestyle?
No, not on purpose. No. No.
So did you ever think that you could go 18 hours without eating a snack or food? And I just can't do that. Because a lot of people, when I talk to them about it, they go, I don't know how you can do that. I can't do that. And I said, I understand why you're saying that, but you'll be surprised what your body can do.
I don't think that the 16 or 18 hour was such a shock, because, well, a lot, like being a woman or a girl, a lot of times we're breakfast skippers anyway, right? Because, just in the natural thing of the way our brains work. But the first time I did like an actual 24, and then I've done a couple of 48 hour. The 48 hour is a little bit intimidating. But no, I never thought I could go an entire day without food. No.
Now, have you gone more than a day before?
Yeah, I've done 2 days. I've done 48.
Okay.
A couple times. I think I've done that 2 or 3 times. So yeah, and like I said, it's like tailor-made for lazy people. Intermittent fasting is great. I mean, I went to work today and I was like, what am I going to take for lunch? And it was like, that's easy. Little thing of meat, little egg, move. Like, I don't have to make a salad and chop up a bunch of stuff and then measure dressing, and just, it's easy. And the other awesome thing about it is, as you know, because we're Facebook friends, I've met so many really cool people through this. There's such a support system there of people that have found this and want to help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good part of it, because there is a struggle. Like I said, I started going to this gym a couple weeks ago, and one of the services they offer is nutritional counseling. And so when I was filling out the 30 pages to join, I said that I checked no to the nutritional counseling. So when you go in there and they do an evaluation of you, and so the trainer says to me, so when you're done with this keto thing, we'll talk about nutrition. And I said, yeah, I'm not done. I'm not going to be done. Like, this is how I live now. And she's like, yeah, you can't live like that. And so we kind of got into a little, a mutual disagreement, and I said to her, we're just going to have to agree to disagree, because you think it's nutritionally deficient, but next time I come, if you want, I'll bring you a lot of paperwork that shows you the opposite. But I'm pretty happy, so I'm going to say no to the nutritional counseling. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of the trainers and stuff, they're still on that old school. You need carbs to train, and all that stuff. They're not up to date on the whole fat adapted thing.
Now, I've been very lucky with my doc. Like, my family doctor is very receptive to it, so I feel really fortunate. She's been very supportive. Yeah, I was really lucky. She did kind of go through a couple of the myths, which I kind of chuckled at about, drink lots of water because of your kidneys and stuff like that. But I know that if I bring her literature, I feel comfortable that so I'm very lucky that way. Very lucky that way.
Yeah, because a lot of doctors that you go see, they'll do almost exactly as that nutritional person at your gym. They'll try to talk you out of it and say, well, you don't need that much fat. You need to trim the fat. You need to take the skin off the chicken. I mean, you don't want to eat that many eggs in a week. You want to limit your amount of eggs. And, and the reality of it is there is no better food on the planet than eggs. I mean, they're just packed with everything that you would want in a food, which is the reason why my wife makes devil eggs and I have them in the fridge. So if they're cold, and especially during the summer, if I don't want to eat or go grill a steak or something, I just grab some devil eggs and pop them in my mouth, and they're cold, they're cool, and I know I'm getting what I need. So
that's my hardcore go-to. We always have hard-boiled eggs in my house.
Love them.
Well, we used to have duck eggs, but I don't know, Brian. I could eat them at first, and I loved them. My daughter loves them. I still get them for her, but somehow my body does not like whatever protein is in there, and I get really, really sick from them. So every once in a while, I'll try one because I really like them, and then I go, no, still not working for me.
Have you ever tried eating just the yolk?
Just the yolk? No. I'll try that.
Yeah, that might be better. It might be the whites that are giving you a problem.
Okay, thank you. I'll try that. Because my daughter, like I said, I still have to make them for her.
Yeah, unfortunately, the place I get my duck eggs, the ducks aren't laying, so I've been having to get just regular chicken eggs, but they're still good chicken eggs. I go to this regenerative local farm, so all their stuff's good. But I'm missing the duck eggs.
It's kind of funny because, Jim, you were describing to me like where you go get your eggs. So the place where we get our eggs, I just drive up this guy's driveway, and he has like free-range chickens. And it's the strangest thing. I never thought I would do this, but he basically has a refrigerator out there. You leave money and take eggs. And I'm like, this is the weirdest.
That's Brian's setup.
Now the duck eggs, I have to go, and that's where I found I'm getting my grass-fed cow next month. So I'm pretty excited about that. But they have ducks too. So
you getting the whole cow?
No, we're splitting it 4 ways.
Okay.
So the irony of it is there's not a freezer to be had. So I don't really know what we're going to do with it, but
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
I had that problem.
Yeah, I'm like, I found some place that it looked like they had them, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I went through the whole thing, putting in the cart and this and that, and then I looked at the delivery date, and it said like October 24th. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I went into Lowe's, and the guy laughed at me. He goes, I can sell you a snowblower, but I can't get you a freezer. So.
Well, I got to share you. This is a story how I got and Brian knows I was looking for a freezer too, because I had bought a half a cow, and so I needed a freezer to store the meat. And luckily for us, we had a client. So Monroe, shout out to you and Helen. Thank you very much. Him and his mom own a lot of apartment complexes, and so they were refurbishing this one apartment complex. They were buying a ton of appliances, and he told the guy, he goes, look, you got a freezer. I mean, it's a really large order. The guy goes, I don't have any freezers. And he goes, well, I tell you what, I'm not buying any of this stuff unless you can produce me a freezer. I gotta have a freezer delivered to my friend Jim and Peggy at their house. So I don't know if the guy sold us his freezer, but he delivered a freezer to our house. And then Monroe sent us another freezer. I don't know where he got that one from, but he sent us 2 freezers as a thank you for doing a real estate transaction for them. and very appreciative of those freezer. And then the guy who came to deliver half a cow delivered us more of a third of a cow, which I've been communicating back and forth with him, and he's going to come pick up his third of a cow and refund us the money on that order. So I will still be in search of a cow. Yeah, Brian, I should actually go get the steaks, but I don't want to embarrass the person, but they delivered a bunch of New York strip steaks, and I tell you what, I'm not even exaggerating, 1.3 ounce New York strip steak. They're in this vacuum packed bags. They're like this big. It's like a bite. 1.3 ounces. I kid you not. I sent my freezer. I should go bring it. He was supposed to pick it up the last couple of days. He hasn't yet. But 1.3 ounce New York strip steak, and I got a whole bunch of those. I'm like, are you kidding me?
How do you even do that?
I don't even know how you do it with a straight face.
Wow. Well, the guy at Lowe's said to me, you shouldn't have bought the cow until you got the freezer. And I said, well, it's too late for that. So thanks.
Yeah, they're definitely tough to come by. You know, I would just, search and search like Craigslist and keep looking for them on the used market.
I found one on the Facebook Marketplace for $50, but it was broken. And they said, oh, it's probably something simple. And they only wanted $50. And I really contemplated getting this thing and then trying to see if I could fix it. But then I thought, what if I get it and it's some part that I can't get? And then I'm stuck with this thing. So I passed on it.
I think it was a smart move, because you don't want to inherit somebody else's problem, much least pay $50 to inherit somebody else's problem.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, it didn't look like it was that old either. It looked like a fairly new freezer. But
well, it could be worth it. I mean, you may want to grab the model number and just Google search and see if there's any problems or what, who knows. But I know I'm thankful to have a freezer now. I just would love to have some meat. So, hey, if you can't find a freezer, Lynda, let me know. We can store half of the quarter up here.
Don't worry. We'll figure it out, Jim. It won't last long in this house anyway.
There you go.
Was that place where you bought your meat, was that local?
Me?
No, Jim.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah. The guy lives here in my area, but he sells a lot at the Alexandria Arlington Farmers Market on the weekends. And so maybe they're accustomed to 1.3 ounce New York strip steaks. I just know I'm not. And I mean, I'd have to put like 10 or 12 of those things on at one time to satisfy me for a meal.
It would be cool, like if you did get a half a cow, if you could request like steak sizes, like thicknesses and all that, and have them custom cut everything for you. I wonder if you.
I think you should. Yeah, I think you should be able to do that. I know the last farm which is local. I mean, the processing plant's not more than 10 minutes down the road from us that does the processing for the farmers in our area. And I know the guy we got him before, he did a great job of nice size steaks. But I know people, you know what? Just give me a second. You guys talk. I'm actually going to go get it, because I know people watching this are going, well, I want to see this. So I'm going to go get it so I can show people this 1.3 ounce New York strip steak. So you guys talk. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I was curious to see it too. Probably looks like a little Barbie doll steak.
I can't even imagine how you would cook that.
No, I know. It's like a little steak cookie.
Yeah. Well, this farm where we get ours, so they raise the cattle, so you can go and they actually sell. It's actually really cool. The guy has like a freezer. He has his own steers slaughtered, and then you can actually go buy individual stuff too out of his freezer, along with then ordering the cow, which is what I had been doing, was kind of just going there and buying piecemeal. And then we got 4 people to go together, and we were like, let's just get a cow.
Yeah, I'd like to get it in bulk like that, because there's a semi-local farm. They drop off the order down closer to where I am, but I still have to order online, so I don't see the actual thing that I'm buying. So like when it comes to steaks, it'll say the ounces, but then I'll get it, and sometimes it'll be a nice thick steak, and other times it'll be a little too thin. It's like on the thin side, and I'm like, so I never know exactly what I'm going to be getting.
Well, this will be interesting because apparently this is the first time we've done this. So they're supposed to put us in touch with the butcher, and then we're supposed to be able to say what we want. So I'm assuming we could tell him what, thickness or.
Yeah.
So I hope it works out.
Well, here I'm going to cover up his name on the top of it.
Right,
I'm not going to hold on a second. I'm going to switch. I'm going to take the virtual screen down for a second so you guys will see me in my messy office. Can you now? Let me just turn this over.
Yeah. Oh my word.
So you see how big my finger is? This big whopping New York strip steak. How?
That can't be right.
And I'm gonna cover up his name again, but beef New York strip steak.
Wow. It's like like appetizer size.
It's like you can put a toothpick in and use it for one fondue dip. That's it.
It's like stew meat there.
Yeah. It's like a stir fry, and I got one piece of the stir fry. It's just like, I'm literally looking at this, and I'm just like shocked.
Yeah, that
even my daughter who's a vegan said, "Gosh, that's terrible."
I'm like right here by my freezer.
Now Brian's gonna pull out a piece that's smaller than mine.
I can't find it. My freezer's so full right now. Everything's just like in here like puzzle pieces.
Stuff like sardines.
Huh?
Stuff like sardines. You got all the freezer meat stuffed in like can of sardines.
Yeah, it's like between my stuff and Smokey's stuff. Can you see that? Because it's the pull-out drawer, and it's completely full. And then I got the top drawer, which is got more cat food, and on top of my food. I was looking for. I had another one of those. What do you call them? Tomahawk steaks. It's like
I can't find those here. I cannot find those.
Well, they only have them every once in a while at the Kroger up the street. And every once in a while, I go in there, and if they're like on sale and they're sitting out and they look really good, I'll just buy one or two, just to grab them. But I love those things.
At the Korean barbecue restaurant that we ate at today, they actually had was a tomahawk steak. They had a picture of it. It was $49.95. I almost got it, but I was so set on just having the authentic barbecue and not just ordering off the menu and have a tomahawk steak. Again, I might have ordered it, but it was on the menu. It looked good at least the menu picture looked good. It might have come out looking like my 1.3 ounce New York strip steak.
Yeah, these couple that I bought they're like 2-pounders. They're like 2 pounds.
Yeah, they look great. A couple weeks ago, I was at a specialty shop, and the guy we were talking about, they had different kinds of meat. So I had bought some elk and bison and stuff that they had there. And I asked if they had, and I'm probably not going to say this right, any Wagyu steak. Am I saying that right? He goes, oh yeah.
Japanese,
and he breaks out the steak, and it was probably this, it was a thin steak, but he goes, I have the certificate for it and everything. I go, okay, well, let me see. It was $150. And I went, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that won't last on my plate long enough to make $150.
Yeah, the true Wagyu is really expensive. But there's like the Japanese version of it. But there's different versions that you can find cheaper ones. It's just just got more of the fat in there. But that farm up the road for me, they also sell that sometimes too. They'll have specials on that, and I've gotten some of that, and I got some Wagyu
hamburger or ground beef.
The National Weather Service has issued a special weather statement.
Can you hear that?
You getting a tornado?
No, I think it's just thunderstorms.
Oh.
Yeah, we've had some through the DC area, through Maryland. I don't know if your mom got hit last night. We've had some really severe thunderstorms up here in the DC area in the last couple of days.
Yeah, we haven't had any really bad ones here lately, but they keep threatening. The worst is when that thing goes off in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh no. And they don't say, and it doesn't actually say when it beeps like that. Maybe it does for a tornado, but I always have to like get up and hit it and read it, and because nothing worse than thinking a tornado is coming at 4 a.m.
Well, you know, our county, and I love our county, but Fauquier County actually has a system where if there's any emergency, not only do they send you a text message service on your phone, they dial every home phone. So your phone literally can ring at like 2:30 in the morning, like, and it's just, you pick it up and it's a generic thing. We just want to warn you that severe weather and blah, blah. It's just like, I would have just slept through it. I mean, truly, I would have just slept through it, you know. Now then they turn around and then sometimes they use it for, you know, we have a criminal loose within 5 miles of your house. We just want to make you aware, lock your door. Okay, that's good. But yeah, but to get woken. What's that, Brian?
Like the Amber Alert thing.
Yeah, the Amber. Yeah, it's just like that. Yep, it wakes you up and you're like, okay, now I got to try to get back to sleep, because once I get woken up, it's really tough for me to go back to sleep, especially when the adrenaline's pumping, because I got someone in my area running around, a fugitive, you know. Luckily for me, they're not going to come to my house and rob my freezer, because no one's going to rob and take that 1.3 ounce of New York strip steak.
Yeah, keep those on top just in case.
Yeah, this is all I got. It's like rolls of pennies on top of my dollars.
Yeah.
They're like, man, we don't need to rob this guy. He needs our help. We need to bring back some of the goods and split it with him, because he doesn't have anything in his house. Anyway, well, Brian, you got anything you want to ask Lynda before we wrap this up?
Oh, wow. Wow, there was a question early on and I didn't ask. Well, actually, no, you asked it. I was getting ready to, and you had already thought of it. But yeah, so you've been doing this since January. Do you ever go full carnivore for any periods of time?
I mean, I don't really. I mean, a couple of days. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm staying around 5 grams of carbs a day anyway, it's hard to fit vegetables in there. But yeah, there's lots of times where I'll go 3, 4, 5 days, but I don't do it like, I won't say I'm doing carnivore for a month. I haven't quite. There's something in my head that still won't let me kind of let go of all that vegetable. Plus, I like them, so I know that sometimes you talk about how you had, you know, you just felt better when you didn't eat them. But I have managed to eliminate everything that seems to affect me negatively. So I do okay on the vegetables.
Yeah, well, that's actually how I discovered a lot of the stuff that I had adverse reactions, because once I stopped it, and then I would go back and try something, because I still love like roasted Brussels sprouts and asparagus. I've had a couple little sticks of that when I'm visiting like my sister or something, and that doesn't mess with me. But man, I love Brussels sprouts, but I just cannot eat those anymore. It's terrible. I can't eat nuts either. As soon as I remember it was I was like 3 months into the full-on carnivore, and I still had a little thing of mixed nuts that I had made. They were all like raw organic, like they didn't have anything weird in them. And they were still in my cupboard. And I saw them in there. I thought, oh, I haven't had nuts in a while. And I just grabbed a small little handful and tried them. And it was like, oh man, I can't eat those anymore. But it's a good learning experience, you know. I realized why I was feeling the ways that I was feeling back in the old days.
Yeah, nuts used to be like my go-to. When I first started, they were like my go-to snack. And I don't eat them that often. I mean, I have like the raw, you can have so few of them to begin with that it's not even.
Yeah, it's a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that same problem. You know, I think you don't really recognize when you're on a regular American diet, because you truthfully, you feel bad all the time. So you just get accustomed. This is how you feel. You're just bloated and you're not feeling great. So when you start eating a cleaner lifestyle with keto or carnivore, and you incorporate that into your diet, you notice the difference. You're like, wow, I'm bloated. Or else, because I love peanuts, I love pecans, I love walnuts, I love hazelnuts, I love them all. But what I noticed is I started to be inflamed. I would have gas. I started belching after having peanuts, and I can't have them anymore. Now I will still eat them at a baseball game because it's just something it gives me something to eat. But I really, on a day-to-day, I never touch them anymore. And I used to eat them every single day. So, well, Lynda, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day or evening and joining us and sharing your story. What's one tip that you would just give somebody who's looking at this and go, what advice would you give somebody? Just do it. Whatever advice you want to give, go ahead. This is your 5 minutes to share.
I would say just try it. I mean, there's degrees of trying it. You don't have to just start. You don't have to buy in. Like, you don't have to. One of the biggest questions I get, because Jim, you saw my post about, and the only reason I posted that was because I wanted people who have known me for a long time to be able to look at that 6-month post and say, wow, I mean, I've known her for a long time. If she can do this, maybe I can, and reach out. But you don't have to 100% be like, I'm going to start tomorrow and I'm going to eat 2 carbs a day. And I mean, I really eased into it. Just start. If you just start by eliminating the processed foods and sugars, that's an excellent start. And your body will almost immediately thank you for that. The good thing about keto is you absolutely see results, even if it's not on the scale. You'll at day 3 or 4, you'll wake up and you'll be like, man, my brain fit better. Like, it's just amazing the immediate change your body makes.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. Brian, what's on your agenda this week?
Well, I'm taking a little trip out of town. It's my mother's birthday, so I'm going to surprise her.
Will this be aired after you've surprised her or
During?
Okay.
Well, this is going to go on Friday, right?
Right. Next Friday. So you'll be good, right? Yeah.
Next Friday?
Next Friday.
So not the day after tomorrow.
Correct. Unless you want me to air this one I'll load this one into that slot. It'll go next Friday.
Yeah, I'll be done by then. I'll be back home.
All right. So she has no idea you're coming to see her?
Nah, I'm coming. My younger brother's flying in from Long Beach. My older brother was going to try to come, but his wife's sick, and she's got a bunch of health problems, so he can't just leave her at home, and she can't fly, so he's not coming. So it's just me and my younger brother, and my sister lives there. So
okay.
So my mother thinks she's just going over to my sister. She doesn't know my brother and I are going to be there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's going to be a nice surprise for her. So happy birthday, Mom. All right. Well, that ends another episode of Keto Rocks. We want to thank you for joining with us. And as always, please to spread the word, help people feel better by sharing meat and keto-friendly foods. One word, no processed food. And by each of us can do this, we'll make the world feel much better. Trust me with that. So have a great week, everybody.